Hi everybody, thanks for tuning in to my channel today. I'm Antone Dabs. Thanks for being here. So today I was going to talk a little bit about music and what it means to me. I'm not a musician, but I'm somebody who's really into music, and I've been into music since a very early age. So what does music mean to me? It's an outlet for stress, for anxiety, ways to get rid of that. In the past, depression, it's always been there for me, and I go down rabbit holes. So if you don't know much about my channel, I deal with really bad anxiety. I'm medicated, which is much better these days, so it's a little more manageable. And I also am on the autism spectrum. So from a very early age, I had this kind of a gift where I could remember song lyrics. That's one of my little autistic things, I guess. But I can remember a whole song after not hearing it very many times. And it started out where I got into music. I'll kind of go back and tell you how I found music. You know, everybody's heard music from an early age, but I would say in about 6th grade, I got really into classic rock and roll. And I remember listening to a lot of Led Zeppelin, early Van Halen. We're talking the 80s here, guys. So Rush was a big influence on my musical, world at the time. Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath, things like that. And it seemed to go a little bit more heavier at the time. Then all of a sudden Metallica came out, those first albums in the early 80s. They rocked my world. They were great. And then, but then I found punk rock. And then all of a sudden it was the Sex Pistols. And whenever I like a band, not only do I do a deep dive of the band. Now this is kind of one of my things where it's called hyperfixation, and it's with my being on the autism spectrum that I do this. But whenever I get into a band, I'll deep dive it, and then I deep dive every single person that's in the band. And if you know anything about bands, there's members coming and going, so I'll deep dive those, and that leads me on these other little hunts for other different bands that those musicians might have been in. And if I like a band, I can maybe, if I like that singer, I can go back and find that there's other things out there with him singing on in other bands or maybe solo stuff. So I've always really been into music, and whenever my anxiety or my stress or whatever's been at its worst, I always seem to listen to more music. I kind of go into that world because it seems to help. And I do it without even noticing I'm doing it. I just do it. I used to collect a lot of different CDs and albums before CDs and cassettes before all that. And now I've got Apple Music. So I have on my phone, I guess it's up there, I can't show you, but on my phone, I have everything that's ever been put out, kinda. Some obscure stuff isn't on there, but at my fingertips with a quick search. And yeah, to this day, I guess that's what I still listen to. I listen to a lot of punk rock. I'm a big fan of the Descendants, so I listen to the Descendants all the time. And they got a new album coming out, by the way. I'm told they're recording it right now, so that's great. But I still listen to a lot of classic rock. And I stepped away from classic rock for a long time because it just, I had too much of it, and I couldn't deal with it, especially like bands that I loved growing up. I love the Doors. I share a birthday with Jim Morrison, so that's kind of cool. I love Led Zeppelin, and those bands, I way overplayed them, and it was really hard for me to listen to them for many years, but now I'm back on those kicks. I love listening to the Doors. And then if you're a big Doors fan or a big Led Zeppelin fan, not only do you have all that great music from back in the day that was released, you can buy the new albums, and now they have a whole bunch of other different versions of songs, new songs, different things like that on those albums, which are on Apple Music. So not only do you get the 9-10 songs, but you get another 30 on top of it. So, it's, so that's really fun. I like going down those rabbit holes too, different versions of songs, and, and especially the old stuff that wasn't released is really that's always a lot of fun. But music has always been there for me, in the worst of times, and it's a tool I use for mental health, just as much as anything else, and in some cases even more. It's just always been there, and there's certain places I can go in my catalog to help me feel something that I'm needing to feel. It can be very uplifting for me. when I was back in the day when I was, young and trying to figure out life, and depression was part of my growing up in the 80s. The Cure was a big surprise there, right, guys? The Cure for somebody who was feeling depression. But they were a band I listened to a lot, and I'm back. I'm not depressed anymore, but I'm listening to a lot of Cure again. I love the Cure and Robert Smith, and supposedly there's a new album coming out there too. But he always says that nothing happens. So, but anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. Share my joy of music, how much I love it, how much it's been there for me. And I listen to music every single day. There's not a day that goes by that I don't listen to some music. I listen to it maybe a little less when I'm driving now. I'm into podcasts, true crime. So I listen to that sort of thing quite a bit. Crime Junkie is my jam right now. It's a podcast. If you guys haven't checked it out, 2 ladies are on that podcast telling stories of different things that has happened, and they do an amazing job, and I love it. But anyway, I just want to share my love of music with you guys. I hope everybody's having a wonderful week. I'm in Duluth, if you didn't know that, and it's beautiful outside, so I've been hiking today. I got an electric skateboard. I went cruising around the city on that for a little while, and now I'm back home, and I'm probably going to listen to some music for a little bit. But anyway, I love every one of you guys. Stay tuned. There'll be more coming. We'll talk to y'all later. Take care. Bye.